Well, the weather today has gone from downpouring rain and thunderstorms to now being sunny to looking like more thunderstorms later on. So on a day like today, what better thing to do is there than to finally install my long travel kit on my Pioneer 500. And we're going to get phase 1 of Project Mighty Mouse underway. So this specific video is going to be the install kit of Joe Kocienski's long travel kit for the Pioneer 500. He pretty much makes everything bolt on, and it comes with everything you see. You have upper and lower arms for both the rear. For the front, he includes extended brake lines. He includes new tie rod ends for the added length you have. 4 new axles, although we will have to switch out this diff cup on the shorter passenger side front for the stock one, which I'll show you when we get to it. And that's pretty much all there is to this kit. He has all these mounting brackets set up to work with your stock shocks. But if you want to run some aftermarket, all you have to do is when you contact him to order the kit, let him know, and he can pretty much mount your shock mounts wherever you need them to go. So if you're wanting to run slightly longer ones, like the Rhino shocks, then you're able to do that with this kit. He's able to tailor it to suit your needs. Now this kit is a 60-inch kit, so it's going to take your 50-inch Pioneer, or a roughly 53-inch in my case with my spacers, and extend it out there to 60 inches. I'm not sure what the back spacing on my Walker Evans rims here is going to do for my overall width, but I tried, as you guys can see here, well maybe not the light, but I tried to keep these tires so the back spacing is such that it keeps these wheels tucked in as much as possible, so I'm not sticking way out here, you know, 65, 66 inches. But you guys probably know by now, I've had these tires for a while. We're going with 32-inch Blackwater Evolution on 15-inch Walker Evans beadlock rims. And of course, I'm running my Walker Evans shocks already on all 4 corners, so we're going to retain those. So I had Joe set my kit up for the stock shock setting, since those Walker Evans are made for the stock shock locations on the stock A-arms. However, if you've been following me for a while, you know that I went with softer springs on my shocks. We're probably going to swap them out for the ones that came with it up there, a little bit stiffer, because going with this long travel, we're going to have more leverage on our arms and shocks, so we're probably going to need a little bit stiffer spring to maintain some ride height. About 10.5 inches of ground clearance. Rear. It's hard to see because of lighting, but we are about 10 3/4 inch ground clearance on the front. I'll get this mess kind of straightened up, organized. We're going to start here in the rear because it's going to be the simplest, the easiest. And like I said, this kit is a bolt-on kit, so it should not be too involved. Alright guys, so we got this one side all apart here. Quick note here, make sure you take time to clean out where your axle goes in here in the diff. Make sure that's cleaned out good. You get all the mud and crud out of there. Same goes here in your bearings. You can see I got a lot of crud in there. I'm going to clean all that out, make sure my bearings themselves are good before you install everything. But real quick here, I want to give you guys a little comparison here. Stock versus Joe's. And you can see here how much we're gaining. These are the rear lowers, the rear uppers, so there's quite a bit of difference here. Here's a side by side. You might be able to tell a little better that way. And same here for the uppers or lowers, whatever, those are the lowers. So there's the difference between them. Let me see if I can get this all in one shot. There you go. So that's how much you're going to gain. Alright, so now we're ready to get this slide all back together. I'm a little worried that I'm completely extended here in my jack. I'm not going to have enough height to get my wheel on there when the time comes, but I will have to go ahead and swap out our springs to the heavier ones, which is just a matter of backing this off. I'll probably go out to the vise, back this off, and put my new one on, tighten her back up. These are the, what are these? The 200-pound ones. I'm going to go back to the ones that came before I did all the testing for Walker Evans to find a good spring rate. These ones are, what, 275. So we're going to go back to the 275s for now on the rear and see how that performs. Again, I have a few different weights. I have, I believe, 250s and 225s as well. So we'll put the heaviest ones on there, see how it rides. And we can play around with springs a little bit at a later date, too, to find a perfect combination. So if you guys want to order Walker Evans and Joe's kits together for the ultimate Cadillac ride of your Pioneer 500, you'll be able to tell the guys at Walker Evans what spring rates you want. Alright guys, I got the back all done. I ended up doing a little bit of a change of what I had originally planned to do. I was going to install Joe's long travel kit, but instead I figured I'd go all out, and I went ahead and installed the 2015 Hubbard conversion kit. Alright, obviously I'm just kidding, guys. But it's also obvious that I ran into a little bit of complication here. As you can see, this side is, the driver's side is tore back apart. What happened was when I went to go to install the passenger side, nothing was lining up correctly for the hubs. I could attach the arms to the hub, and then I could not get the arms mounted in the frame, or if I mounted the arms in the frame, I could not get stuff to line up to attach the hub. So I called up Joe, we got to talking, we checked all the measurements from his jig and stuff. Everything was spot on where it should be. But I got to noticing that on the driver's side that I did get all together, I only had like 4 inches of travel up and down. And I didn't realize this, you know, when I was putting it together. You guys can see in the video that it was just kind of hanging there. Even before I put my shock on that would hold it up, it did not have the travel. I mean, these guys literally will have this much travel here once everything's put together. Joe said it's like somewhere around 12 to 14 inches of travel compared to the stock 5.5 inches. So I wasn't even getting as much travel as I had with the stock arms. So again, we were checking everything, all our measurements checked out. So finally what Joe did was he took his arms, his prototype's arms that he's been running on his P5, and it found out that his arms were at almost an inch, or right around an inch longer than what his jig was set up for. Now the funny thing about that is he had shipped out 2 kits right before I got mine, and they bolted to the P5s, or the owners that bought them, flawlessly. I mean, there was not a problem. He had the camber angle and everything dialed in, but he had to shorten those an inch from his original arms for stuff to line up. So then he got to researching and found out that at some point in time, Honda made a change to this rear suspension. I don't know if you guys remember a while back that Outcast Fabworks was offering, I think, arched A-arms for the rear, but they ended up discontinuing them, stopped selling them because they were having fitment issues, and this is the same thing that we're running into here. Now Joe is still trying to find out and pinpoint exactly what that change was, so he'll be able to tailor his kit depending on, you know, the year, the serial number. If he can find out when that change took place, then he can do these kits for the different changes, whatever that was. We do have our suspicions. This is unconfirmed right now, but in his research, Joe did discover that there is 2 separate part numbers for these hubs. And see, what I found out is by moving this bottom A-arm out and just an inch, that inch that we were short going by the jig he made the last couple kits, I had full travel then. So what we're thinking And what my guess is since these hubs had different part numbers, that in some point in time, I don't know if you guys, how well you can tell this on camera, but our hub here, this upper mount, is far longer than our bottom mount, probably by about an inch. And we are thinking that they ended up changing this hub and extending this bottom out an inch, whether for strength or just to make it easier to make, I don't know, to cast the metal, I don't know. But I'm thinking this might be where that inch difference is made up, or where that inch difference comes into play. Again, this is unconfirmed, but we're thinking once they switched to offering the P5 with the automatic in 2017, they made a change. So from 15 and 16 is going to need the inch longer A-arms, and then the 17s and ups are going to need the inch shorter lower rear A-arms. The tops are fine, they're where they should be, it's just in the lower rear A-arms. Again, this is unconfirmed. As soon as we find out for sure, I will make sure to let you guys know. As you can see, my A-arm, my bottom A-arms I took back off. They are shipped in the mail heading back to Joe so he can extend them an inch to the length his original arms were, because that's what I need. I need what his original prototype arm lengths were. So they're shipped off, he'll get them extended, ship them right back overnight, and we'll be able to put those on. In the meantime though, there is not a single thing keeping us from getting to the front and hooking up the front, because in all the kits that he sold, he has not had one problem with the front. They have fit perfectly on every single model, including his. There's been no changes. So we're going to go ahead and start tackling the front. But basically, there is not a whole lot here to the front either. We'll jack her up, we'll get our tire off, get our shock off. Again, we're going to swap back to the heavier springs these Walker Evans originally came with. Get our arms off, pull our axle, and Joe does send tie rod extensions. Let me go back here. So these guys will go in to make up that extended length. Joe includes new extended brake lines with the kit that we just have to bolt right on there. So a couple more steps here in the front, but overall still a fairly easy install. Again, this kit is bolt on, so there should be no major complications. Now on the passenger side, when we get to the axle, we do have to make a change on the one that comes with. But we'll wait and cover that when we get there. First, let's tackle this driver's side. Alright, now that we got our wheel off, we're going to go ahead and take this little plastic guard off for our caliper, two 10mm bolts here. We are going to go ahead and pull our caliper off, which I believe those are 17mm bolts for there. Might as well go ahead and take our brake line off. I'm not going to take it clear off yet. I'm going to abort it from the brake line and hopefully pin it up here somewhere, so I don't, somewhere up here, so I don't lose all my fluid. Because more fluid I can save, the better. So we'll get that off, get the shock out of the way. Probably get the shock out of the way first, actually. And then we'll just have to pull our little pin under here on our tie rod and take our hub off. It's pretty much just unbolting everything. And pretty much every bolt you're going to encounter, either going to be a 10mm, a 14mm, or 17mm. And our lug nuts are 19mm. And just for your reference, I don't think I mentioned this on the back, I don't have the correct millimeter size for these big hub nuts, but I do have a standard size that works, and it is 1 3/16 inches. So whatever metric size that equivalates to, then that's what you want for this. But if you have 1 3/16 inches, it will work. Well, riders, as you can see, we got a mess of parts everywhere. We got the front all tore apart. Little thing to do while you have this all apart, if you're going to install this kit, or anytime you have this apart, even if you don't have it apart, these Hondas are notorious for having bad welds every once in a while, and these welds up here cracking and stuff along here. Sorry guys, I'm losing my light. It's getting dark. But so it doesn't hurt to always inspect these a bit, because I've seen horror stories where these welds have been awful, they've been cracking. I think I got fortunate because my welds on my guy look absolutely fantastic. The machine must have been running good, and this one must not have been built on a Friday, because you guys know the torture I put my guy through with the jumps I hit and stuff. Not a single one is cracked, and like I said, all my welds are beautiful. So that is a good thing. So I would go ahead and start slapping this kit on here. However, as is often the case when taking axles out, I had a little difficulty here on the driver's side. And you guys can see I kind of crinked my oil seal here a little bit, which is unfortunate. Not a big deal, but unfortunate, because now I'm going to have to order one and replace that, because I like to get into a little mud. I get these big old tires and stuff on here. I'm probably going to get into even more mud. And I don't want that to leak and ruin my differential. So I will have to, I don't know, this lighting is bad. Sorry guys. But I'll have to get one of those ordered. I'll have it overnighted, possibly, hopefully have it by the time the weekend's over, as this is Thursday, 4th of July. So I'll get one of those ordered, shipped overnight, so I can get this replaced and then start throwing this front back together. And then hopefully by that time, we will have my rear arms back from Joe all extended and ready to go. And look at that. I just rhymed. Alright guys, it's been a day or two. I got my new oil seal in. The old one is out, so it's garbage, can go into the dump pile. I've already done a video on replacing the oil seal, which you guys can check out if you're curious. But in short, basically all that is involved is taking a screwdriver, getting in here behind it, gently prying, the old one will pop out, and then just press the new one back in nice and square and straight. And what I like to do so I don't damage the new one is actually use the axle, and when I put it back in there, give it a couple little light taps to push that oil seal in there, and that makes sure that it goes in nice and straight and not cockeyed and we don't mess it all up. So now that that's back in, we can keep trucking along here. The next thing we need to do is put our extended tie rods in here. So we're going to have to remove this boot, which the lower clamp here is easy. I bet you I can just, I can do that by hand. It's just going to slide off there. We will have to turn our end off because it gets reused. But we'll have to see if we can't get, I know you guys can't see very well, the clamp back here. Now it is kind of the pressed ear. I don't know the technical names for this stuff. You guys ought to know that by now, me being a hillbilly mechanic. But we're going to try to get that off so we can resave it. I should just be able to take a screwdriver in there to open that up a little bit. Slide this boot off. And to take these ends off, what I got to do is get this nut loose here, which is a lock nut up against that. And then the tie rod ends will just unscrew off. And they can be screwed on to the new extended ones. Ta-da! So here guys, as you can see, we got the boot off. Now here's a little better picture of that rear clamp so you can reuse it. You see it's just this style, whatever the name of that style is. If you know, you can comment below. But I just put a screwdriver in there and unpinched it so it slide off, and then we can slide it back on and get back in there and pinch it again to reuse it. So now that the boot's off, we will be putting this on our new ones here. What I did is I went ahead and turned the wheel the whole way to the right to extend this arm clear out. So now it's just a matter of, whoop, not getting our brake line in the way. Let's see, I don't need a bigger. So now it's just a matter of taking our adjustable wrench and getting her on here so we can spin her off. Oh, let's see, which way is the threads on this? Alright, a little tip for you guys in taking these tie rods off to switch them. Go ahead and do that before you put these brake light lines on. I got in a little hurry here putting these on, and as you can see, it kind of gets in the way here on this side. At least it's probably the same on the other side. So when I do the other side, I'll probably go ahead and swap these out before I put the brake line on. So just a little installation tip for you. Tie rod ends before new brake lines. And again, just for side-by-side comparison, here is the old tie rod end versus the new longer tie rod end. And you don't even have to worry about reusing these little retaining clips or whatever these things are called, because Joe sends 2 new ones with his new kit. And as you can see, what they do is when they're in place, they keep that from being able to spin in there, and it locks it in place so it doesn't come undone. And for these, it's a good idea too, as with probably all your bolts on your suspension, use a little bit. I use a little bit of blue Loctite here to make sure that this definitely is something you don't want to have come undone while you're riding down the trail. And there's a new tie rod end all ready to go. As you can see, we reuse the boot. Now for that little ear on the boot clamp up there above, I actually have a set of CV boot clamp pliers, but you don't need these. I will leave a link for these ones that I have. It's available on Amazon. I'll leave that in the link for my Amazon Marketplace store. But if you have regular needle nose, regular pliers, you'll be able to get in there and just give that clamp a little bit of a squeeze to hold it in place. So that's done. I just kind of throw this on loose for now. Once we get the side all back together, we will adjust this close, and then once we have both sides done, of course, we'll have to go back and do an alignment. But for right now, we'll just throw her on there. And at this point in time, we're ready to throw our new A-arms on there. Alright, real quick here, guys, I wanted to show this because I didn't show it on the other side because I just did the time lapse. But obviously, once everything's put back together, we're going to have to align the machine. That's going to be a given because we've changed the geometry all around. We've added new and longer tie rod ends. So what I did on the other side, I'm going to do the same. I'm going to do the same on this side to get us in the ballpark. When I get the hub reinstalled and the tie rod roughly attached here, I'm just going to take here, since we have our brake rotor here as a nice place to go from, I'm going to just measure from the frame as best as I can here to the rotor. Let's see, we're at 15 1/8 roughly. I'm going to do the same thing here on the front. We are at 15 3/16. So I'm going to adjust this a little bit now. Let's see, I want to extend it just a little bit. Am I going the right way? There we go. And get us in the ballpark. Now once we get the tires on, obviously we'll have to fine tune it. Let's see, on the frame, now I am at roughly, again this is a regular carpenter's tape measure, and on a machinist I'm roughly between 15 1/16 and 15 1/8. This side I'm between 15 1/8 and 15 3/16. So I think when I get her down to about 15 1/8 here, I should be pretty good. Which way do I want to go here? This way. Let's try that. Again, we're shooting about 15 1/8, I think. There's 15 1/8. There's 15 1/8 almost. I'm going to go just a touch more. Anyway, this will get you in the ballpark, and then once you get 15 1/8, pretty close. And then once you get the machine back together, the tires on, and then you can check them with each other, and you should be good to go for your alignment. And that's basically all it is. Once we're done with aligning it, once the wheels and stuff on, you get this where you want to be. And then all you got to do is turn this lock nut up against this, and you should be good to go. So again, I didn't show you that on the other side. I wanted to show it now. That'll make aligning it when it's all done a lot easier. So here's what I gotta do to the passenger side axle. We actually have to take the diff cup off our stock one and swap it with the diff cup on the new longer axle. Reason being is if you notice here, let me line these up, the splines that go into the diff on the replacement or on the stock axle is actually longer than what we have here on the replacement one that comes with the kit. Plus this spline shaft is actually a little bit too narrow as well. It's beefier on the 500, but this is the correct length we need and is what Joe's able to get. So all we gotta do is loosen these clamps, pull our boots back. There'll be a little clip in here we just have to take out, and then this will slide off. And we'll do the same thing with this one, and we'll be able to swap them. I'll show you guys as best as I can, but I'm not going to touch the camera, and I'm going to glove up because you know there's going to be a ton of grease in there, so I'm going to try to touch as little as possible, but I'll try to get the camera set up so you guys can see. Alright, so the first thing, let's go ahead and get the diff cup off our factory. First thing we're going to have to do is get our factory clamp off here. I want to try to save these, but I don't know if they'll survive coming off or not. Probably not. That might be salvageable. Alright, so now that that's off, we'll slide our boot down. And I'm probably going to have to take this one loose too. There's that. That one came off a lot easier actually. Let's get this pushed down. And there's our greasy mess. Alright guys, I got as much grease cleaned out of this as I can. Now it's going to be hard for me to get this on camera, but there is like a little ring in there, one of those little C-clips that holds this together to keep it from coming out. One tool I don't have, I'm going to need to get is a pick tool. I'm going to try to use my custom-made bent screwdriver here. We're going to come in here. It's right on the lip. I'm going to come in here, see if we can't hook that and pry it out. Yep, it went flying. Now up against the wall. So there that is. It comes right out. And now this should just slide apart. We're going to inspect this. It doesn't look like we got any dirt or anything in there. If there is, clean this out. If you got dirt and mud in there, if you're using your stock one you've been running for a while, then you might want to replace your actual joint as well. I know you can get those from several part stores. Rocky Mountain ATV sells them. Any place where you get Honda parts will sell them. Let's clean this up so it's flying into the cobwebs, because we will need that to put back. I'm going to clean a little bit of the oil out of this, or a little bit of the grease. Once we go to put this back in, we'll put a bunch of fresh grease in there so we're good to go. So now that I have that off, we'll set this aside. And we will be good to go. And repeat the process for the axle that's going to be used in our kit. Now luckily this axle, at least these lower ones, are the ear band kind, so I'll be able to pop them off and reuse pretty easy. I think I'll be able to get this and use it over again as well. There, that one came out a little nicer. Carefully remove the diff cup we don't need. Oh, don't tell me this guy's not going to fit. So as a replacement axle I got different. It might be, guys. Oh, it's not going to work. Well, riders, it turns out if you have bought an East Lake replacement axle for your Pioneer 500, it is not going to work with Joe's kit. This little joint in here will not fit inside this. This is smaller. The joint on your East Lake replacement axle is actually a little bit smaller. However, I did still have the old diff cup off a Zippy that we ended up taking off at Hatfield McCoy. It actually cleaned up really, really nice and was not as damaged as I thought it was at first. The only damage is a slight nick right there in the teeth, which this goes into diff enough that's not going to affect anyway. All our splines here below where the clip is that holds it in is what matters, and they are all fine. So we're going to be alright to use this, and as you can see, it fits right in there like nothing. It's perfect. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is we'll grease this all up, put some grease in here, put it together, reinstall that clip, and then this axle will be ready to go into the 500 with a long travel. So I got lucky that I still had a hold of this. She cleaned up nice, and we can continue on. Alright, and I know you guys are going to ask, so before we go and throw the new wheels on, we're going to weigh them. I'm just going to use the old bathroom scale I have. Now, that's not going to be the most accurate in the world, but it'll work good enough to give us an idea of what's going on. So, first we'll do the front, because there's going to be a little bit difference between the front and the rear that I had on there, because the rear are wider. But these tires I had on there are, what are they, 27 9s by 12s in the front on the factory Pioneer 500 rims. These are actually the old tires off my Pioneer 1000. So the front, we're coming in at 36 pounds for the front. And again, the rear is going to be a little bit heavier because these are 27 by 11s, 12s. So they're probably going to be a couple pounds heavier. Yeah, we're right at 41 pounds for the front, or for the rear. So 36 for the front and 41 for the rear. Now, the tire selection that I have gone with for on my Project Mighty Mouse, we've got 32-inch by 10s Blackwater Evolution that we're going to be putting on all four corners. We're going to go the same size all around so we can rotate if need be. Rim selection are Walker Evans 15-inch bead locks. Walker Evans actually saw my other video where I went over the piles and was talking about the build, so they gave me a call and said, hey, why don't we hook you up with some 15-inch bead lock rims for your project build, because not many people know that not only do Walker Evans make excellent shocks, they make some pretty nice rims too. I really like the silver accenting with the black, and these come in this black finish, or I think you can get gunmetal gray. And again, these are true bead lock wheels, so we'll be able to air down to where we need to be. So again, 32 10s with these Walker Evans rims. And we are right at 60 pounds. So quite a bit heavier than the Stalkers. We're almost doubling the weight of the front and kind of adding about 20 pounds to the rear. But I think we should be alright. If I have to eventually do an internal gear reduction, we'll do that. But we'll run these as is. We'll see how it handles. It handled these 27s fine. So I think we'll be alright. But only some testing and time will tell. So one of the reasons why I went with the Blackwater Evolutions is because they are one of the lightest 8-ply tires that you can get. Ready? Now for comparison, my little guy here, he weighs 32 pounds. So even the tires I had on there are actually heavier than you are, little man.
No. Can I, Daddy? Daddy, my turn.
Wow, Alana weighs a whopping 42 pounds.
Oh,
so you're heavier than the wheels I had on there.
She's the same as the back.
They were 41. Close enough.
Yeah.
You're heavier than this time.
No, the two of you together would be heavier than that.
All over your body.
Let's see the baked bean girl. Look, you still have some on your nose. It's also your hair. Are you gonna touch it? Yeah, are you gonna touch it? Oh boy, baby cam. Baby cam. Hey, hey.
Is this a touch screen? I want to touch it. Is it a touch screen?
Oh,
I can swipe already.
Did it do anything?
You gonna
No.
swipe already? Yeah. What do you think?
No, it has bolts on it, honey.
Oh, dirty.
Say no. Now you have dirt all over your fingers and you're sticking them in your mouth.
There she Alright guys, so there she is, all done. Now again, this was pretty much a simple bolt-on kit aside from the little complications we had in the rear. But that was, you know, kind of unavoidable. That was something we did not know about till now. But now that we do, we should be good for if you guys order this kit. A couple things real quick I didn't show on assembly is I just ran my brake lines, you know, I kind of ran them down and then up through. This is pretty much the best way I could think to run them. And of course I zip tied out of the way. As you can see, we've gone with the stiffer springs that I had on here originally. I think these are 275 and they're the longer ones, not the shorter, softer ones. Walker Evans now sends with the Walker Evans shocks for the 500. And these stiffer springs are a must. We're still playing around here with the spring rates on the back. I have, I think, 475s on now. But because they're so short and I got so much leverage, you guys can see how much preload we still have to run here in order to get that. And it's got these compressed pretty good. So Walker Evans is sending me some more springs we're going to try. We're going to bump in this length. They have the whole way up to 600. So we're going to go ahead and throw those 600 on here. And then hopefully I won't have to adjust my preloads down. And that'll give me more preload then to adjust my height. I know in the reveal video I said I was at 15 inches. We have settled a bit now. I'm right around, I think, like 14 1/4, 14 1/2 inches of ground clearance now. But these have settled. And I think with some stiffer springs, I'll be able to adjust this up. I think I can safely probably go a couple more inches and should be able to get over 15 inches of ground clearance on here. So that'll be awesome. I mean, that's a big improvement, you know, coming up from, what, 10 inches to 15. You know, we're getting over 5 inches of lift here between the bigger tires and this kit. So that'll be awesome. So as you guys can see, she's muddy, she's filthy. I've been running her. I probably have over 100 miles on her now with this kit, getting the test footage and stuff, which will be coming up real soon. And I have to say, guys, I have zero complaints over the performance of this kit. It has made the 500 absolutely awesome. Now, I know since the reveal video, I've had a lot of people ask me, you know, how do I get a hold of Joe? Where can I find out more information on this kit? He doesn't have a Facebook or website or anything set up yet. His company is called Jack's Motorsports. Probably the best way to get a hold of him is on the Honda side-by-side forum at hondasxx.com. Or you can find them on Facebook, usually in the Honda Pioneer 500 Builders group. Or even if you just search for Joe Kocienski, I'll put his name up here so you guys know how to spell it. You should be able to find him. And I'll also put up his phone number so you guys can either call or text to get more information about his kit. So in the next vid, we're going to be our test ride footage. We're going to take this guy, we're going to hit some good mud holes, especially some that we've hit before. Keep in mind, these ITPs are kind of a good overall tire. They're not heavy mud tires, but I was still super impressed with how this guy did. And being a little bit wider, being able to stay out of the ruts, and definitely having that ground clearance now was a big, tremendous help. This guy was pretty much unstoppable during our ride, which you guys will see here coming up real shortly. So if you guys have any specific questions about Joe's kit, make sure you comment below. I'll do my best to answer. If I don't know the answer, Joe watches my videos, so he'll probably chime in and answer, or I'll ask him directly to answer your questions as best as we can. So don't forget to do all the typical YouTube stuff, like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Guys, your support of my channel is highly appreciated. You can do that by visiting my Teespring store to get all your Appalachian Mountain Riders merchandise. Support me through Patreon to get exclusive bonus content and footage and live streams. And I have an Amazon influencers page set up where all the tools, parts, gear I get off of Amazon can be found in one convenient place for you guys to shop. And if it wasn't for you guys' support, I wouldn't be able to do projects like this and bring you the content that I love to make. And I hope you guys enjoy watching. So until next time, have fun, be safe, and keep on riding.